Pluto, planet or not? Before we can answer this question, we need to know what the word planet is for. And that takes us back to the ancient Greeks who called Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the Moon, and Sun planets. Basically, if it moved across the sky and was bright, it was a planet. This is a terrible start for the word because 1. It excludes Earth from the list, and 2. It groups wildly different things together. But the Greeks couldn't know how different the moon was from Saturn, since the best technology they had to observe the universe was sadly limited. It would take several thousand years until the industrious Dutch built the first telescopes and astronomy became much more interesting. Astronomers could now confidently rearrange the solar system in an elegant scientific advance that no one could possibly object to, and reclassify its parts, dropping the sun and moon from the list of planets and adding Earth. Now, basically, if it orbited the Sun, it was a planet. As time went on and telescopes got better and better, each new century brought with it the discovery of a new planet. Which brings us to this familiar solar system, 9 planets orbiting one star. And looking at this model makes people wonder, why do astronomers want to ditch Pluto? The problem is pictures like these in textbooks are lies. Well, not exactly lies, but quite unhelpful. They give the impression that the planets are similar in size and kind of evenly spaced, but the reality couldn't be more different. Here's our home planet Earth, and this is Jupiter next to it, at the correct scale, rather bigger than you probably thought. If we take this diagram and adjust for the correct sizes of the planets, it would look like this. Unless you're watching this video in full screen mode, you might not even be able to see Pluto. So size differences are vast, and Pluto is the smallest by far. But it's not just small for a planet, it's also smaller than 7 moons: Triton, Europa, our own moon, Io, Callisto, Titan, and Ganymede. Even if you show the correct relative sizes, the distances are still a problem. Think about it. If Jupiter was this close to Earth, it wouldn't look like a dot in the night sky, but would be rather overwhelming. So it must be really, really far away, which makes drawing it to scale rather a challenge. But excluding Pluto from the planet club just for being tiny and far away isn't reason enough, and quickly brings out the Pluto defenders. In order to better understand what Pluto really is, we first need to discuss a planet you've never heard of, Ceres. Back in 1801, astronomers found a new planet in the huge gap between Mars and Jupiter. It was a small planet, but they loved it anyway and named it Ceres. The next year, astronomers found another small planet in the same area and named it Pallas. A few years later, they found a third one, Juno, and then, funny enough, a fourth one, Vesta. And for several decades, children in school learned the 11 planets of the solar system. But astronomers kept finding more and more of these objects and became increasingly uncomfortable calling them planets because they were much more like each other compared to the planets on either side. So a new category was born, asteroids in the asteroid belt, and the tiny planets were relabeled, which is why you've never heard of them before. And it was a good decision too, as astronomers have now found hundreds of thousands of asteroids, which would be a lot for a kid to memorize if they were still considered planets. Now back to Pluto. It was discovered in 1930, making it the then ninth planet. First estimates put Pluto about the size of Neptune, but with more observations, that was revised down and down and down. While Pluto shrank, astronomers started to find other similar objects orbiting in the same zone. Sounds familiar, right? While kids at school kept memorizing the 9 planets, some astronomers grew uneasy about including Pluto because the size estimates continued to shrink, and they learned that Pluto is made mostly of ice. And they continued to find lots and lots of icy objects at the edge of our solar system, just like Pluto. This problem could be ignored as long as no one found an ice ball bigger than Pluto. Funny enough, which is exactly what happened in 2006 with the discovery of Eris. And once again, astronomers recategorized the solar system and grouped these distant objects, including Pluto, into a new area called Kuiper Belt. And that's the story of Pluto, a miscategorized planet that finally found its home, just like Ceres. But this story is really less about Pluto than it is about realizing the word planet isn't very helpful. The first 4 planets are nothing at all like the next 4, so it's even a little weird to group these 8 together, which is why they often aren't, and are separated into terrestrial planets and gas giants. And now that we have telescopes that can see planets around stars not our own, and we've found rogue planets drifting in empty space and brown dwarfs, objects that blur the very line between planets and stars, the word planet becomes even less clear. So, as we increase our knowledge of the universe, the category of planet will probably continue to evolve or possibly even fall out of favor entirely. But for the time being, the best way to categorize the stuff in our solar system is into one star, 8 planets, 4 terrestrial, 4 gas giants, the asteroid belt, and the distant Kuiper belt home to Pluto.